All right, so there's I think four different types of problems that you have to know how to do in this homework section. They're all done using the same exact formula, okay? But sometimes you do have to find some of the parts, but it's not terribly difficult to do. But let me give you guys the formula here. So the sum of a geometric series. Now there's actually, and I'm gonna put something right here so that way I can kind of make my point. There's actually two of them, okay? There's a finite geometric series and an infinite geometric series. Finite means that they say add up the first 10 numbers, add up the first 15 numbers. So they only want you to add up a specific set of numbers. So 10 of them, 15 of them, 30 of them, 100 of them. That's called finite because they say you're going to start with the first term and you're going to go 100 terms and that's when you're going to stop. Okay? Then there's infinite. Infinite means you're going to keep adding forever theoretically. So there is a theoretical equation that we're going to use. It's actually easier than the one I'm about to write, but we haven't gotten to that. That's probably going to be next section maybe. We'll see. But you can tell when it's an infinite geometric series because they end with dot, 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 and they never tell you how many terms. Okay, they just say like, here's a set of numbers, dot, dot, dot. So you're saying, oh, so it's going on forever. Okay, here you'll see that they're going to give you a specific number of terms. Now here's our formula. S sub n is equal to a sub 1 times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. No, you cannot cancel top with bottom, okay? But this is your formula. You know n represents the number of terms, a sub 1 is your first term, r is your common ratio. Okay, we already know those definitions. So that's what we're going to be using. Okay, so I'm going to do some of the problems from your homework, not too many, because there's so many different types that they're giving you. They're only giving you 4 of each. So I'm going to do one to give you an idea of how to do them, and then the other 3 will be done the same way. So here we go. So first example, there's 4 problems total that look like this. I'm going to do one of them for you guys. Remember, they say evaluate, which to me, I wish they would say find the sum, but they're going to say evaluate the geometric series. Okay, and I'll leave that little formula up there just so we can see it. And here's one of them that they give us. So it's going to look like this. 3, negative 6, positive 12, negative 24, plus etc. n equals 8. So remember what I told you guys? If it was infinite, they would put dot, 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 but never write the n equals 8. That means it just keeps going. So figure out how much it adds up to. Okay? Here they're saying, yeah, it'll go, but I only want you to do 8 of them. Finite, a finishing point. We're going to stop after 8 terms. Okay? So notice, in order to do the formula on top, I need to know my nth term. Do I know my nth term? Well, they tell me n is 8. So, all right, I'm going to make a little list here. N is 8. The next thing I need to know is a sub 1. What's my a sub 1? 3. All right. What's my r? That's the last thing I need to know. Well, let's see. 3 becomes negative 6. Then it becomes positive 12. Then it becomes negative 24. Anytime the signs alternate, that means r has to be negative. What number am I multiplying by, though? By 2. So there you go. Negative 2. Once you have those 3 pieces, you're just going to put it into your formula and solve. So here we go. S sub 8 is equal to a sub 1, which is 3, times 1 minus a negative 2. Now be careful when you do that, okay? Don't just put 1 minus 2 because it says minus 2, and I know r is negative 2, so look at how nice they made it negative already. No, put the negative 2 in a parenthesis, and that's going to go to the power of 8 over 1 minus negative 2. Okay, I'll simplify this just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to use calculator to finish it off. So it's 3 times 1 minus negative 2 to the 8th over, the bottom is 1 plus 2, right? That's minus a negative 2. 1 plus 2, that's a 3. And that means I can cancel this with that. Now, again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Just do the rest on your calculator. But I'm just trying to simplify it just a bit. And that's going to give me a 1 minus a negative 2 to the 8th. That's all that's left. And I'm going to go ahead and put that into a calculator. Okay? So, I don't know. I got tons of different ones. We'll use that one. All right. So 1 minus, I'm going to put parenthesis. I don't know if you guys can really see it. It's up there really small. Sorry about that. But maybe I'll use a different calculator right now. 1 minus negative 2 to the power of 8. So that's what it says right there. 1 minus negative 2 to the power of 8. It's kind of hard to see it. So I'll use a different calculator, but it's right here. 1 minus negative 2 to the 8th power is negative 255. That's what it's going to add up to after 8 terms. Okay? So I'm just going to put that right here. Bless you. Negative 255. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Okay? I know the formula looks weird. I can totally understand that it looks a little scary, okay? But the good news is it's not that you're having to find it or anything. It's already given to you. You just got to fill it in with the numbers, okay? So this example right here is based on them giving you a sequence, actually a series, shall I say, because the sequence is separated by commas. This is separated by addition or subtraction. So this is a series, and they tell you go up to a specific number of terms, 8 terms, okay? Once you know that you can figure out all your little pieces like I did on the left side, and then just plug them in, let your calculator do the work, okay? So let that be kind of like the main thing you do. Find your main values, plug them in, let the calculator do the work. So let me do another example. Actually, before I go on, any questions on this one? So just be careful, guys. The most important thing is using your calculator right. Okay? And I don't really like this calculator that I'm using, so let me close it. Let me see if I can use this one here. This one might be, give me a second. I think this one looks a little nicer. Kind of put it to the side or something. But let me go to my main menu. Oops, I pressed exit. Hold on. Exit. And delete everything. All right, so second type of example that you might see, or that you are going to see, not that you might see. So example number 2. Same instructions, okay? Evaluate the geometric series. Again, that's just another way of saying find the sum. And they're going to give you the following. A sub 1 is 3. A sub 8. And I do apologize, but unfortunately, a lot of times these numbers do jump to really crazy large numbers. So you'll notice there's a couple like that when you guys are doing some of these homework problems. Okay? And sometimes they're smaller, but there are a lot of them that have these really large numbers at the end. So I'm going to use the same formula. Okay? So let me write it down. Same formula here. S sub n is equal to A sub 1 1 minus r to the nth power over 1 minus r. So I'm going to go to the very left side and I'm going to start filling in what I know. How many terms am I adding up? It's there. It's 8. How do I know? Well, they want me to go from 1 to 8, right? A sub 1 to A sub 8. That's where they want me to stop. That means there's 8 total terms, right? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. 8 terms, okay? So I know n is 8. All right. What's A sub 1? That was pretty obvious, right? They labeled it. A sub 1 is 3. And then I need my r value, and that one they gave to me as well. Okay? So, now that I know those things, I can plug it into my formula. Okay? Notice, am I going to have to use that negative 49,152? Not really. I just needed to know what number we were stopping at. That's all. Okay? So the 8th one. So here we go. S sub n, S sub 8 is equal to A sub 1, which is 3, times 1 minus r is negative 4 to the n power, that's 8, over 1 minus r, that's 1 minus negative 4. Okay, let me simplify just a little bit. So this is 3 times 1 minus negative 4 to the 8th. By the way, you notice how I'm not distributing the negative into the negative 4? You can't do that because the negative 4 is being taken up to a power. So you got to leave it alone. But on the next one, the bottom one, 1 minus a negative 4, that's actually a 5. Okay? Now let me go ahead and do that. Let me bring this back up. Let me see if I can make this thing show up in a specific way. Give me a second. I don't know if this will work. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to do the 1 minus a negative 4 to the 8th. So parenthesis 1 minus a negative 4 to the 8th power. Whoops, I forgot to put a 4 in there. Negative 4 to the 8th power. And maybe I should put 8th power. Sometimes when you use these calculators, they don't behave the way they're supposed to. All right. So there's that. Let me hit enter. That's the top part. I'm going to hit enter. Then I'm going to divide it by 5. Divided by 5. And now I'm going to multiply it by 3, the number in the very front. So times 3. And there's my answer, negative 39,321. Negative 39,321. And that's what it adds up to. Now, would you agree that example 1 and example 2 are basically the same problems when it comes to the work? Yeah, they just look different. But once you find those key things, n, a sub 1, and r, 3 things, you can do everything else identically. Every single problem would be done the exact same way. Okay? And actually, I was wrong. There's only 3 types of problems they're going to give you. So the next example is the last one we're going to do. Okay? So give me a second here. Any questions on this one before I move on? So it's just a different look, right? But same idea. This next one's going to be a different look, but same idea. So here's example number 3, our last one. Same instructions. Evaluate the geometric series. And it's going to look like this. And just so you know, all 4 of the problems that are going to look like this, they all start at 1. They don't start like at 3 or anything. They start at 1. Okay? That makes it a little easier to figure out the number of terms. Now, yeah, I'll do that right here. They write it out for us like this, okay? And they want us to find the sum of it, okay? How do I know it's a geometric series? Well, because of the fact that the formula, the explicit form of it is written inside of there, right? It's a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. That's what's right there. Negative 3 times negative 2 to the n minus 1. That's the explicit form for a geometric series. So you got to be able to notice that to say, oh, that's geometric, right? So we know that it's given to us. So I'm just going to look at my terms that I need. So remember, s sub n is equal to a sub 1 times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. And remember, I need n, a sub 1, and r. What's my n terms, my number of terms? What is it? Say again? 1? That's where I start. But that's not all the terms. How many terms do they want me to add up total? 8, right? It's top minus bottom plus 1. Remember that from yesterday? Top number minus bottom number plus 1. So 8 minus 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So right there. Okay? Now, what is my first term? How did you guys do this yesterday? How do we figure out our first term? Has to do with either the top or the bottom number. Yeah, you plug in the bottom number, that gives you your first term. If you plug in the top one, that gives you your last term, right? So if I want to figure out my first term, I have to plug in the bottom number into this equation. Okay? So let's do that. Negative 3 times negative 2 to the 1 minus 1. Okay? And by the way, once we're done with this, I'm actually going to show you an easier way. But this is one way to do it. So that's negative 3 times negative 2 to the 0. What's negative 2 to the 0? Any number to the 0 power equals what? Not 0, 1. So this is basically negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3. You notice something interesting here. Negative 3, where we solved it, and there's a negative 3 right here. Isn't the formula a sub 1 r to the n minus 1? Right? If you think back, I know I'm kind of stating this, but our geometric explicit form, okay, a sub n equals to a sub 1 r to the n minus 1. That's this right there. A sub 1 is right here. That's a sub 1. So we don't actually have to calculate it. It's already there. Okay? But if you wanted to, you could. All right? But you're going to get the same answer, negative 3. All right? So did I waste some time? Not really. It's just a teaching moment, right? To say, hey, you can do it the old-fashioned way, plug in the number, but the answer you're looking for is literally right there. Okay? So just hopefully you remember the explicit form. If you don't remember the explicit form, then that's okay. You plug in the number, you'll find the answer. Okay? But if you do remember that formula, a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1, you'll probably say, oh, r is there, a sub 1 is there. So that being said, what's my r value? Negative 2, right? It's right, it's given to us. So r is equal to negative 2. So yeah, this was more work right here than I needed it to be. Okay, but that's okay. All right, let's plug everything in. S sub 8 is equal to a sub 1, which is negative 3, times 1 minus a negative 2 to the 8th, divided by 1 minus a negative 2. Okay? Yeah, that is my value. Yeah, so I'm good. Now, 1 minus a negative 2 on the bottom becomes 3, so I'll be able to simplify a little bit. 1 minus a negative 2 to the 8th, and this is 3. The 3's will cancel, but the negative will stay there, okay? So it's going to be negative 1 minus negative 2 to the 8th. So now let me bring out the calculator again so I can do that. So it's negative 1 minus negative 2 to the power of 8. And hit equals. And that's positive 255. And there you go. These are the 3 types of problems you're going to see. They're either going to give you a list, okay, so like a series listed out, or else they're going to give you your first term, your last term, your R value, and then from that you can figure out the pieces. And then the last one's going to be a series. So they're going to give you a sigma notation. So they'll give you that, okay? You have a total of 14 problems overall, and it's based on these 3 things. All right, you guys have any questions on this one? All right. Let me stop.